Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. It is the 7th of March, 2022. First week is done. First week of March is finished. Yay! Of course, everything around the globe, market wise, is just really everything's kind of focused on Russia and what's going on over there. Not Russia, Ukraine and Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So that's just been a wonderful, wonderful thing going on. Just want to take a quick look here at before we dive into our cryptos. Take a look at commodity markets because they are quite insane. You look at natural gas. I mean, it's down a little bit. I mean, it's up 1.5%, but it was up I think almost 3%, a little over 3% today. And then oil coming off of its highs, it got all the way up to $131, which is yeah, that is past the August 2008 highs. So I mean, it's at 14. Gosh, is 2008 really 14 years ago? It does not seem like that long ago. And now I sound like one of those people when I was younger who would say it wasn't that long ago, and 14 years to me back then sounded like a whole generation. So, yeah, man, it's crazy. Time goes by so fast. Just nuts. But yeah, oil has had a fairly spectacular rise and hitting that 130 level. Definitely getting some sellers up there. You look at the other commodity markets, the ruble, or those foreign currencies, the ruble is continuing to nosedive against the dollar. So this is the US dollar ruble. This is showing you how the US dollar is performing against the ruble. But if you want to see, like, if you were looking at it from a ruble perspective, that's what it looks like. Really, really bad. I mean, the ruble is just tanking. There's a lot of foreign currency uh, uh, brokers out there who have suspended trading on it or have like decreased the margin requirements by or increased margin requirements rather. The leverage has been adjusted very very tight. So maybe instead of like 30, if you live in the states you're limited to 30 to 1. Maybe it's like to 5 to 1 or even if that even. But still, yeah, it's pretty nuts. Wheat is up 7%. That is still continuing higher. That's all the way up here. Wheat is higher. Corn is coming off of its lows a little bit. Um, sugar is kind of coming off of its highs a little bit. Sugar had been trading the highs that it was at. Uh, yeah, it's had kind of a technical break there. And then, of course, gold and silver. Silver coming off of its highs a little bit as well. It got all the way up to 26.14, but is now pulling back just a tad. So whether this is going to continue anything into the broader week, if we see a reversal here, remains to be seen. Now that brings us over to cryptos, which are, I mean, you can see that risk-on assets are catching a little bit of a bid right now. You could see that the Nasdaq opened had a gap lower and moved all the way down to 13,527, and it's since recovered all of that, and now it's above the open, and we'll see what happens when it closes the gap. If it closes the gap, that'll be something to pay attention to. See how the market responds there, but otherwise, very responsive bounce off that 50% fib retracement. And let's start taking a look at Bitcoin. So, from a technical perspective, Bitcoin is extremely, extremely bearish. It confirmed an ideal bearish Ichimoku breakout on Saturday, and it's trading up against the final support level of a bear flag. But so the combination of bearish events here is quite substantial, and it's interesting that there hasn't been any follow through from the sellers. Now that doesn't mean anything right away because volume overall is kind of low, and but for whatever reason, we have this setup here where you have this prime shorting setup on the daily chart with a break below a bearish continuation pattern, the bear flag, and a confirmed ideal bearish Ichimoku breakout, and yet no follow through. There's a little bit of a bounce going on here, but that may bring it all the way back to 40.25, 40,250. We'll see. But one thing that you should take note of is that the threshold for Bitcoin to, really create a new rally is that actually happened once last week on Monday. And it's still not that far away. At 42,700, a close there would put it above all the Ichimoku levels and above the 2022 volume point of control. So that'd be a substantial move. And yeah, it shows good conditions to continue higher here. Nothing really screaming on the oscillator wise that it can't go higher. At the same time, nothing really screaming oscillator wise that it can't go lower. So the weight here is definitely still to the downside. But I do want to point out that on the $2,000 3-box reversal chart, there is an ascending triangle pattern here developing, and that's just something to kind of pay attention to because this is the longer time frame, and if it gets up to 46K, it'll form that triple top, and that's going to be an interesting zone to watch if it does do that. Additionally, on the $500 3-box reversal chart, that converted into a bull market. It's still in its first pullback, and so this is not viewed as a sign of weakness, despite this entire retracement of the prior X column. It's still bullish because it hasn't broken the bear market trend line. And in point figure analysis, the first pullback after you convert from bull to bear, bear to bull, that is always viewed as a strong sign. It's not viewed as a sign of weakness. And so what's made this a lot easier is I think this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Ooh, it's close. Thoughts on quadruple witching? Oh, not much of anything. Yeah, it's I traded like my first gig around 14, 15 years ago was in futures, agricultural commodities is what I dealt with primarily. Hedging and speculating, Midwest commodities, corn, wheat, lean hogs, feeder cattle, all that jazz. And yeah, that's pretty crazy stuff. And then I got into equity futures, what I did for like the bulk of my time before I transitioned into being just on my own in the ES and the NQ. But the there's different names for it. The point, and this is kind of bringing me into Bitcoin here, is that so if you look at Bitcoin's chart, this is the weekly chart. And in Gann analysis, he's big. W. de Gann is big on time cycles, and one of the cycles are his seasonal dates that he identifies. Some of these are they're based. You'll probably recognize them, but his square of 9. This is one of his primary forecasting tools, and so the angles are day counts, and they're very important. So the 0 degree line starts on March 21st. So that's coming up. So March 21st, June 21st, September 23rd, and December 22nd. Those dates probably sound familiar because they're when seasons change. Spring, summer, fall, and winter. And you look at these dates on any financial instrument, and you're going to find a very high frequency of them, developing, like markets find these major minor swing highs and lows around these dates, and cryptos are no different. So for Bitcoin, oops, for Bitcoin, here we go. And yeah, I mean, and the other thing is that contract expiries typically occur around these dates too. So that's normal. And that's because futures contracts are and options, they're done in quarterly increments, and that's just how they've always been. And because you've got different futures, most futures settle in cash and they roll over. Um, but there are some that are deliverables. But most people, unless you're working for a brokerage firm that deals with the physical commodities, like grain or your cereals and your livestock, most of it is still just cash settled for speculative purposes. But for Bitcoin, if we look at these Gann seasonal dates and take a look at, let's just take a look at this spring. And let me just change a little thicker. So this is the March 31st date. And historically for Bitcoin, March 31st has triggered a large, well, I shouldn't say triggered, but large moves typically occur on or around this date. Typically, you see markets begin expansive moves higher if it's been trending lower, or lower if they've been trending higher. And that's just been the case. And this is true in this is true in like all markets. You look at last year's March date, that was right near these highs, and it wasn't very long after we saw that big drive south. Then you look at the COVID crash low. This is something Gann analysts were kind of giggling about. We're like, oh, what are the odds that happened? Preceded the rally in 2020. Didn't really do much here, just continuation. Preceded a rally in 2017, 16. Really nothing in 2015. Continued the drop in 2014, near the swing high in 2013. I wouldn't say it really did anything in 2012. Just a couple weeks before the rally that began in 2011. So, yeah, you have a high frequency of these seasonal dates generating, warning that major moves are likely to begin. And so, what do the other ones look like? So the one after this is the where are we at? We have June. This is summer. Summer also has a lot of them, and then you have September. The fall is another big mover, and then you have winter, which winter is one that some of the have preceded some of the largest moves in Bitcoin's history have been around the date of December 22nd. Specifically, I mean, most recently you have the 2017 begin at the top of that market. You had subsequent rallies in 15 and 16. So yeah, these are very important cycles to pay attention to. And given that, a lot of the market has been trading lower around this date, very, very normal to see things begin to turn around. Any questions on this, though, by the way? Oh, the DXY. Yeah, we can take a look at the DXY. The Dixie is. I mean, it was up a lot more. It's definitely getting into some. The euro dollar now, bam. This one bounced off that dominant trend line and has just really been spiking up a lot here. It reached a low of 108.06, and now it's 100 more, little more than 100 pips above that low. Yeah, the euros drop here is fairly substantial. That just looks overall very ugly to me. Doesn't look very supportive. But yeah, so that's Bitcoin. But looking at Bitcoin here from a candlestick perspective on the daily chart, this is a very dangerous zone. If I was a candlestick trader, do I use Elliott Wave? Absolutely. Yep. Elliott Wave and so I'm a Connie Brown is my personal hero, student of hers, and I don't remember what book it is of hers she wrote. Maybe it was one of her webinars attended, but she said that like Elliott Wave, a lot of people kind of and she really makes Elliott Wave make sense because Elliott Wave is something every few years Elliott Wave becomes like a thing, becomes like a trend for new people to learn. And and then like some years, I think like over the last couple years, it's been Wyckoff, and everybody's like, oh, Wyckoff, blah 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 blah, and then a couple years, it'll be like, well, Elliott Wave, this is about impulse and blah blah blah. Elliott Wave is very useful. So Gann analysis tells you when something is going to happen. A date range of where you should pay attention to something important happening. And Elliott Wave lets you know the price range in which that could occur. So you get that combination of the time and price. But I mean, Elliott Wave is very I think it's overly difficult for people to learn right away. It doesn't have to be. If you take anything away from Elliott Wave, it's that things move in at least waves of 3. Things move in at least waves of 3. That's probably the most important. And if you can't find where you are at if you're looking at an instrument and you're trying to figure out if you're in an impulse or a corrective wave, the odds are you're probably in a corrective wave. And the other thing to remember is that you only need 3 candles to confirm a corrective wave. A corrective wave can happen on a weekly or monthly chart within 3 candles. It doesn't have to be I think a lot of people overly project their moves, and then her method of finding Fibonacci confluence zones that actually helps make Elliott Wave a little bit more easier. But that's a whole different session. But and I think a good cheat sheet for Elliott Wave is the Ichimoku system. I think I've shown this before, but one of the things that I think is very this is just something not even something I discovered, I just observed that seemed very useful, is that when you look at the Ichimoku system, and you look at the wave, you look at the clouds, you can identify wave structure within the clouds, just kind of a rough idea of what that wave structure is. And it is there. And so if you're having difficulty identifying where something is at in Elliott Wave, the Ichimoku system can sometimes help you spot where that wave structure is at. So yeah, that's. I mean, you can see very clearly that there's a, a 5 wave impulse lower down here. That could probably be inside a broader, but sounds like I have to get another book. Yeah, and that book is Elliott. What's her book on it? I can't. I don't have my glasses on. I can't see my bookshelf from here very well. Well, Connie Brown, Constance Brown, Elliott Wave. But yes, Elliott Wave is very, very effective. It's not good at telling you when something's going to happen, though. Just price ranges. So, but looking at Bitcoin, this structure here on the candlestick chart is very bearish. And it's definitely one of those things where if I didn't have open positions already, if I was looking, okay, do I want to go long here at any point? You definitely probably want to wait until there's a close above that Ichimoku cloud at 42.5K. Because it is too close for comfort for a continued move south. Do you also use the time frame ratio of a quarter? Oh, generally, yeah, but there's, I think there's some instruments. So I generally do like a weekly, um, or I'll do like a 3 week, a week, and a daily. But there are some instruments that really like 3 day charts. 3 day charts are very useful. So are 9 hour charts. Some instruments are very sensitive to 9 hour charts. 3 day charts, I think people would, I mean, people who struggle with daily charts and weekly charts, as far as, I think 3 day charts are good in between. There are some instruments where 3 day charts are fantastic, like the yen, Japanese yen pairs and 3 day charts are like, you know, look at, so this is Bitcoin's daily chart, but we could look at it from a 3 day perspective. So these are the 3 day candles, which shows that we have an inside bar. You have this massive bullish candle, and now we have the current 3 days an inside bar, and that ends today. Actually, the next one opens up. Oh no, I'm sorry. This is the. Yeah, well, that should open up soon. Anyways, yeah, 3 day charts are very useful. But moving on, let's look at Cardano. Where are you at? And so if you're looking at, like, if you're looking for evidence of lows in markets and where something may turn, um, look at, so I'm not a fundamentals guy, but as somebody who is a trader and an investor, I know that the bearish sentiment is that the sentiment in the crypto market is overwhelmingly bearish, which is fantastic. And then you have that combined with and that sentiment is reflected in the participation. The participation across all spectrums of cryptocurrencies is down. Volume, not just in the trading volume and investing volume, is it down, but the social media stuff is down. You have yeah, there's just it's very typical and normal. Um, when people, and I mean, yeah, there's 3 animals in the trading and investing world. There's bulls, bears, and hogs or pigs, and pigs get led to the slaughter. And most people fall into the hog category. That's where the retail investor and trader exists. That's you and me and everybody who doesn't sit behind a professional trading desk or a firm. We're all what is considered the hogs. And when you notice, and so professionals observe now. Also, they monitor social media frequency, volume, for stocks or instruments, because the higher the growth of that content of people talking about something is another indicator that's now used to determine where the top of an instrument or the probable top of an instrument is. And when you get to this peak volume of interest, that's where you start to see professionals, scale out of their positions. Um, and like right now is one of those times where professionals, and actually this has been going on for several months. This is where professionals have been accumulating and buying. They've been, doing, attempting to push some markets around, get lower bids. This is it's for a retail trader. It's when you feel the least hopeful, the most depressed, you feel the most angry, like you have the least amount of sleep. You are the most fearful, worried, frustrated. Um, you know, it's when retail traders are like that your bottom is likely in and developing. Um, and so if you're somebody who has held on to things for a while, because you wanted to or you didn't want to, and you're worried about your account balance, the paper, the un the unrealized loss that you may have, um, just try and think of yourself as just one of millions of other people, and recognize that what you're feeling everybody else is, and then just you know take your emotional IQ and just gauge it, because the minute that you start to sell is often is often the time when you probably should have been buying. And it's a very hard thing to do. There's like three stages that if you ever want to do this kind of thing professionally that you go through. The first is you get through that phase, and that takes years. And then the next one is you get super excited when prices drop, and you almost don't get afraid anymore. You start to get really excited when things go down, and then you start to, and in that phase you start to enter into positions like too early, um, where the low isn't there, and then you try. It's hard to get that same fear you had when you first started back, because now you have the wisdom to recognize that, but you've like become accustomed to it, and you're, I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like, you wish for that same kind of fear and anxiety to return so that you can um use your experience and emotional IQ to capitalize on markets better. I don't know if I'm probably just babbling here. Yeah, literally, if you're fair, yeah, that's right. If you're somebody who gets really irritated because you sell something and then it goes up, if this happens to you consistently, how many times is that going to happen where you have to stop yourself and just say, okay, I'm gonna do the opposite. I'm gonna buy it here, or I'm just not going to sell. Um, it's eventually people just get frustrated and they quit they quit their attempt as a trader and investor, and that's probably the best thing. I do my best to discourage people from doing this. It's a horrible idea. Oh, Ethereum. Yes, I'll take a look at Ethereum. ETH. So Ethereum's in an interesting spot, and I wrote an article on Ethereum this weekend, last week, recording too. So Ethereum's got this descending triangle. It's bearish pennant, and it confirmed an ideal bearish Ichimoku breakout. So everything here is, and then it closed below that 618 fib retracement. So everything here is very much pointing to, these are prime conditions to be short, right? These would be prime conditions to be short. But is it Ethereum's down? I kind of talked about this a little bit in the Patreon group. I mean, if this pattern showed up when Ethereum was, around 35 to 4,000, that would be different. But Ethereum's already been down. Where are we at? Price measure. From the all-time high, Ethereum's already been down 55.6%. If this was 2017, 2018, 2019, then this would probably be fine to short when it's down this far. But Ethereum's taken up, has accumulated so much of the market cap and has generated so much investment interest from professional money that that anticipating a 70% wipe now, or even a 60%, maybe 60%, is likely not in the cards anymore. So it is currently right now. What's happening on the daily is it's testing the breakout from this bearish pennant. And if it fails to move back inside, all right, if it fails to move back inside, that's a big warning sign. But I tell you what, the point of control shifted. I mean, there's been a crap ton of buying going on in that 2,500 to 2,600 range. And there's a lot of signs pointing to some bear traps. Actually, the bear traps have been forming for several months. So yeah, there's a lot of reason to be optimistic about where it's at, despite all this blah blah blah. And really, ultimately, these kinds of market conditions, if you're a bull, it's really just kind of a waiting game. There's not a ton that you really wait for, except lower prices where you can add. But a lot of this is just kind of a waiting game. Structurally, this is the exact kind of move that develops prior to a nice bullish expansive move. So that's what's happening here. There was a swing low that formed down here, a new 2022 low. This was back in January, and then we had a rally up, collapse back down, but still we have higher lows, and the closes are higher than they were back here as well. Not by much, but they are still higher. So there's a lot of things to be positive about. But again, Ethereum, if it cannot move back above that trend line, that would, it'd be interesting to see what would happen with the Tuesday candle, because that could just signal some continuation move south. And then how far would it go? You'd be looking probably in that $1,800 range. That's where the 100% fib expansion is at. But maybe that's just me being greedy. But that'd be kind of cool. So VeChain, yes. XDC, isn't it XDC? XDC is, I think, one of the only exchanges I know that's on. Isn't that on Bittrex? VeChain. By the way, at some point here, very soon, our daughter is going to arrive. So somewhere, anytime between now and around this time next month, I may be abruptly gone during a live session, or you won't hear. I will send something on Patreon, and then I'll try to remember to put something on YouTube. But yeah, there'll probably be like a little bit where I'm not here, because baby number 2 will be here. Although the ultrasound last time thought that they saw 2 heartbeats. If it's twins, I will probably pass out. God has a sense of humor, and when you ask him for things, probably better be pretty detailed, because twins, I can't imagine. All right. Let's see. VeChain. Oh, yeah. VeChain. Bear channel. Get rid of that. see, weekly chart. Oh, let me put the. I haven't looked at VeChain in a while. Although I did get notifications last 2 weeks ago that I had some limit orders fill. I think around that 5 cent range, 5.5, 6. No, I think it was a 6 cent range. When was that? It was beginning of February, around there, probably in the 6 cent range. Let's get the market profile for January. That is the that's the 2022 volume profile. Check out the weekly chart. It's kind of let me just see here. What is the? Let me measure the date ranges here because it looks like 321 days, 120 days. That seems to be a big one across the board for a lot of. Oh, and then you have the from these lows. Yeah, 225. It's getting close to the 240. So, yeah, there's very simply, yeah, it's been filling in a lot of this volume profile. I almost did a video back in January on VeChain talking about, or maybe I did, but the thickness of this volume profile here, and you see this all over the place with a lot of altcoins, is that there's a substantial gap in the 2021 volume profile, which doesn't necessarily have to fill, but if prices do move into it, it will move through there fairly fast, and VeChain has done that. And so there's a couple ways you can look at that. You could look at that as bearish and be depressed, or you could look at it and go, huh. When VeChain was at 20 cents, I mean, a lot of people were probably like, I wished I would have bought it at 5, 6, 7 cents. And now you get your wish. But we're humans, and we're like, oh, I don't know if I want to buy it down here, so I'm going to wait till it's all the way up here and then buy it. Because that's what humans do. My son is, I don't know what he's throwing up there. Lots of, his blocks, probably. That's what it is blocks. Okay, let's see. Let's see, XDC. I don't think I have that one on here, but. Oh, yeah, sorry, for VeChain. I mean, VeChain, it's a very similar structure to a lot of the other altcoins. The time cycle coming up here, seasonal date, that's going to be an important level to watch. And I think that is close to the 240-day cycle from the swing, right? Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's like almost, yeah, it's right in there. Some instruments have 120 and 250-day cycles. Yeah, it's right. It's right in there. Also, when I've talked about Cardano and and Dogecoin as well, they've reached their cyclical equilibriums, and they've reached a lot of the end of a lot of their time cycles. But something I don't think I've mentioned it, but I always write it down in my notes, is that Connie Brown was really, and it was one of her live sessions, and she said that her curse is that she's very accurate with her analysis, but her curse is she always enters things too early, and I think that's normal. Really, it is. And I felt very validated to hear her say that, because she's been in the field for decades, and to hear her say that makes me feel better. But the point that she made is that, after all these cyclical events are complete, the last one that finishes, the move may not occur until 15 days after that last event, which is very, very true. So the things that a lot of these events, cycle events, culminated around February 28th and March 5th ish. That's when a lot of these finished. So 15 days from that brings us pretty dang close to that seasonal that seasonal date. So I had that happen, buy a lottery ticket too. What do you mean buy a lottery ticket? Like buy a lottery ticket on the day of the birth? Lottery tickets are the biggest, are like the worst investment until you win. Really, lottery's a way for the government to tax the poor. That is the unfortunate truth about lotteries. Let's see here. I had that happen and buy a ticket. Okay, so oh yeah, XDC. I'm sorry. Candlestick chart XDC. USD. Sometimes the tether pair is more. That's pretty much got the same. This is a ugly looking chart. Although it is getting bowl shaped, if you can tell. Can't really tell on the logarithmic chart, but it's definitely there. This is what I mean by that is the the swings, they're not as dramatic. So if you look at from like here to here, oops. Let me go back to the non-logarithmic chart. Trend line, bam. Oh, bam. Bam. I'm not really proving my point here, but you can kind of, actually, you know what? There's a tool that's a little bit better for this. Parabolic. It's not really a parabolic trend line at all, but oh dang it, it's not letting me change that, is it? Well, that's annoying. Oh, maybe it will. The point I'm trying to make here is that spending too much time is that you can you see the bowl forming, developing here? That's the point I'm trying to make. Why the heck is the parking fee so high in Rapids? What do you mean? I'm confused. Okay, but going back to XDC, um, I think from the weekly. Oh yeah, you've got this. This one should have a pretty good bounce here pretty soon. So there's a Kumo twist on the weekly chart coming up while it's reached this cyclical this low here, and I think is this what was the open here at? Close. Wow, that is exact, wasn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And day wise, so I'm just kind of talking to myself here. 180-day cycles complete. Yeah, XDC shouldn't have a ton of downside risk left, and a ton of upside potential. 180-day Gann cycles culminated right up against this upcoming Kumo twist. There's a lot of reasons to expect a big bounce here, and maybe not even a big trend reversal, but at least a mean reversion up to the Tenkan Sen on the weekly chart, to the 7 cents even range. That would be very, very likely. By the way, there's a lot of altcoins on their weekly charts that have these huge, enormous gaps between the bodies of their weekly candlesticks and the Tenkan Sen. I mean, the mean reversion is going to be fairly epic across the board. It's going to be pretty crazy. So let's see, we got Aave. Yeah, I'll take a look at Aave. Well, I just want to check real quick what equities are doing right now. Oh, they are continuing to move up a little bit from their lows, but they pulled back a tiny bit. Oil, what is oil doing? Oil's a little bit lower. Silver came down a little bit. Gold's still up 0.4. Okay. Aave. You got that. I mean, this is the other thing that's in some form you're seeing this all over. There's definite wedge formation across the board in a lot of altcoins. Very, very, very. So some of it's very subtle, some of it doesn't show up, but in Aave's chart, you can very clearly see this wedge structure. And interestingly, the breakout of the wedge is the same confirmation that you would go over here. Are you accumulating anything at the moment? We're waiting for further decline. Yep. So I actually picked up some more Jasmy yesterday, and Cardano this morning. Let's see what else. Actually, I picked up Polkadot on Friday, and I sold. So I had bought some Chainlink earlier last week that I sold to add to my dot position. I don't remember who it was else in the Patreon channel, but we the Phantom. We made some pretty good gains on Phantom, and I actually left that entire position a couple weeks ago, and I think I might go back into it though. I mean, Phantom, I don't understand why. I mean, I understand the the news reason why it dipped, but I don't think there's nothing wrong with the instrument itself. I mean, yeah, the dip here is pretty big, but I don't understand or see any reason why I would be hesitant about adding again. I'll go back to it. But Aave, let me go back to Aave real quick. Aave is, I like Aave right where it's at. Ethereum and Bitcoin will need to see a bullish breakout for assets like Jasmy. No, not at all. Nope. Jasmy could move in given how far it's moved down, it could. It's one of those. It's one of founders going to sell just causes panic. Oh yeah, well, but I mean, is Phantom decentralized? Meaning, oh yeah, I did shift it to Kraken actually. Yes, yep, I did do that. I did that on Friday. Yep. But if there's nothing wrong with Phantom itself, I mean, if it's decentralized and it still provides a high yield, and there's really nothing that can change that, why not? Aave. Yeah, there's a couple of ways that you could look at Aave. I mean, where it's at is fine, or you could wait for a close above the a daily close that's above the Kijun Sen, so around 151 or so. That'll if unless that would be today, but that it's going to slide a little bit further south. Yeah, when I saw that drop on Phantom, and then you had um the what is it, the news with the guy leaving. I mean, those are really the kinds of things that you look at and go, oh well, okay, I will gladly take this discount. Yeah, I did switch it over to Kraken. Yeah. Um, Founders going to sell cause pack blah blah blah. Yeah, I'd wait to see how it would how Aave would move as it approaches 130ish or so. But otherwise, I mean, even going along here with a stop below the daily low, like around 112 or so, that's a very low risk setup, in my opinion. It's not. It's even waiting. Yeah, the bottom of this wedge probably not be a bad idea to. What one of my friends on Steam is playing Lord of the Rings online. I didn't even know that game was still running. uh, Ayushi, yes, you can buy the native IOTEX token on a lot of platforms like crypto.com. You can buy the native IOTEX token. You don't have to go through that night. Don't buy it on Coinbase. Oh my God. Yeah, I have, and I'm staking IOTEX as well. Let's see. We've got original Jasmine trade. Yes, yes, yes. Hold on. What's that? I'm gonna check out the others. CRV. Actually, no. Let's take a look at Polkadot. Try to hit up all of these. Polkadot's one I'm really excited about. And the price action here. And I'm just gonna say this very, very I'm gonna go back to this chart only because it's the only one that you really have to take a look at. Polkadot, out of all the major cryptocurrencies and those in the DeFi space, this is the one that is probably going to have the like Twitterverse going absolutely bonkers, and crypto space is going to go absolutely bonkers when it finally does move, because this column of O's on the point figure chart has been here since November 3rd. The first reversal column of O's showed up on November 3rd. The first 3 box reversal. And since then it has it has not had a single. So this is November. So you got November, December, January, February, March. 4 months. And there's no time factor in point and figure, so I really shouldn't even be making a big deal about this. But knowing how things move in cryptos is just very, very weird that it has not had a single, reversal column of X's show up. So this is, and the vertical profit target method points it up to $100. And the other thing is that there's no invalidation point on this. So this is the entry's at $24. Okay, it's a buy stop order at 24, stop loss down at 16, and the profit target is up at $100. And I think I mentioned this one of the past streams, or I know I've mentioned it, is that the odds of it going from 24 to $100 in like what some people would probably hope in a day, not gonna happen. Not saying it couldn't happen, just not very probable. Not very probable to happen even within a 2-month period. But this is definitely something where you would like if I was spending $1,000 per trade, if that was my risk, $1,000 per trade. This is when I would split up into four separate $250 trades, and my first $250 trade, I'd take profit at 42, and then the next one at 62. So I've closed out two out of four positions, and so forth. You just however you want to do it, but you know Polkadot is one I'm really, really, really excited about. And the lower it goes, the cheaper the entry. The risk is always the four box stop, so that's fine. But the profit target doesn't change; that stays up there. So the lower it goes, the potential, the implied profit from the entry just increases. And yeah, so that's that. But I mean, Polkadot's $2 3 box reversal chart is a little on the silly side, and yeah, it's just. And also, look, Polkadot is here at Akumo Twist now. That's the other thing to take note of. It's at Akumo Twist on the weekly chart. It's still in the bull market on its RSI. Yeah, there's got regular bullish divergence. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons to be. And for something that triggered a bearish Ichimoku breakout, I mean, the drop has not been one that just says, "Oh, look at this, it's tanking." It's been a fairly difficult move south. Solana, oh my gosh! Tell you what, there are ugly looking crypto charts, and then there's Solana's chart. Oh man. There's like those joke jelly bellies, that have like the normal flavor jelly bellies, but then they have ones that are flavored like earwax or vomit or grass. Um, you know, Solana's chart, if it was a jelly belly, is a bag full of grass flavored jelly bellies. It's just really nasty, disgusting, and bad. And I tell you what, I've written a lot of articles on FX Street about Solana over the last several months, and specifically going back to middle of January, but yeah, and the in beginning of February. The levels that Solana had to break above to go into a bullish Ichimoku breakout. There's just a metric crap ton of them all over the place, and still are in a lot of ways, but it's getting a little bit easier. But that bear flag, um, this is really it's at a kind of a nasty point here, but I'm trying to do it like this. This is a descending triangle pattern. And we shall color it red because that's just how it is. Do you have any idea on the time frame of a Jasmine mean reversion? I'll take a look at that here after Solana. Solana is very much it's a lot like Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's maybe not specifically what it looks like, but both Ethereum and Bitcoin and Solana, they are very bearish. They're either in a confirmed bearish Ichimoku breakout, or those instruments have confirmed a new ideal bearish Ichimoku breakout, and they are close to or have broken below a bearish continuation pattern like a bear flag or a bearish pennant. And Solana is flirting with that idea right now too. And for this is just horrible, but for it to get that $100 level is just miserable. It has to get above the 50% fib retracement, the daily Tenkan Sen, Kijin Sen, the bottom of a prior bear flag, prior bull flag, channel that's represented as linear regression channel, and then the the top, which is actually really, it shouldn't even, it's the same angle as the top of the descending triangle, so it's just, that's the same. But and this within the final 2/3 of this triangle, and any triangle pattern, pennant, or whether it's symmetrical, descending, or ascending, there's a lot of there's some universal behaviors that you should expect to see in a triangle, and that is the breakout generally occurs within the final third of the triangle, and that the volume prior to the breakout nosedives, like it's almost non-existent. And then I believe Bulkowski, that, don't quote me on this, check it, verify it for yourself, but I think he said that the volume on the breakout doesn't matter. Like it's not like a flag where you really need that confirming volume to confirm whether the breakout's going to be sustained or not. But I don't think for triangles, maybe, and I seem to recall him even writing that the statistics even said that even high volume didn't really affect the positivity rate of the pattern. But anyways, long story short, Solana is right within that time range for it to break down below. So that a lot of cryptos right now are just, they have a little bit of a bullish bounce going on today, but they are all sitting at these very, very, very nice primed lows. And from a cyclical perspective, yeah, things could keep dipping a little bit lower until we get the closer we get to the 21st, or the 22nd rather. Oh no, the 21st. The if it hasn't moved south, it's not likely to by then. That makes, I don't know if that made sense what I just said. Maybe it did. I don't know. Oh, Stellar. Yeah, let's stick with Stellar, and then I'll go look at Jasmine, and then I do have to bounce. XLM. Stellar's very wedgish. It's got a big old wedge pattern on it as well. Bearish wedge. And Stellar's trading at where it was back in January of last year. So it's below, it's below 1 year lows. And even, I think this one on the weekly, yeah, this, yeah, man, there is a lot of cycle termination, and at the very least mean reversion coming up across the board. I've been saying this for a couple months because it's like the market is waiting for every single crypto to get to its end cycle and then start the move, which is often, I guess, as I say that, that's often what happens. Let's see. Oh yeah, Jasmine. Yes, Stellar. I mean, and Stellar's one that I add to every month, regardless. I mean, it's a long-term play for me. And Stellar also is one of the Stellar's been around for a while as far as altcoins go, but Stellar has not made a new all-time high in over 4 years. The last time it made an all-time high was in January of 2018. So it's been over 4 years since Stellar has made a new all-time high. If you want to talk about poor performance relative to its peers, that is one right there. And then you have this loser, Jasmine. I love charts like this though because the upside potential even on a mean reversion is so significant. It's to me it's just worth the risk. I love these. These are where's the move it down. There we go. So the 50% fib retracement eh, from the top of the strong bar to the where the current low is at. It's at 0.437. That is a because let's say we're not even gonna let's say this thing doesn't even trend higher ever, but there's a mean reversion set up that will hit the 50% fib retracement and the where's the price measure? But I'll get a time idea here. Yeah, it's a 275% gain from where it's currently at. So time cycle wise, let's look at the. Do I not have the Ichimoku System? Oh no, here it is. And I bet on the weekly. Oh my god, that is. There is no altcoin I've looked at that has. This isn't even a gap. This is like. What was that movie where? Oh yeah, this is like the I don't know. This is the many worlds theory that there's alternate realities. Like this gap is just I have no words for it. It's wow. This is intense. The gap between the bodies of these weekly candles. And this is quite the run of consecutive weekly losses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Pretty. Jasmine is a leader of losers. If there was an award for how strong your selling is and how bearish the price action has been, Jasmine is the shite of shite coins right now. And here's the other thing why I'm really like if it wasn't on Coinbase, I would not touch it. And this is so let's flip the chart here, okay? Let's flip the chart. Let's invert this baby and where's that? Oh, I gotta click over here. Wait a minute. Why isn't it? What in the world? I don't know why. Why is it not letting me? Maybe because it's logarithmic? That doesn't make sense, though. Well, okay, anyways. That's weird. Oh, wait, maybe I've got to... I forget how do you do it. No, it should be over there. I don't know why. Anyways, I can't find the option to invert the chart. That's bizarre. Oh, there it is. Sorry, my bad. So, and I love Optima does this just so you know that you're looking at it upside down. They remind you, with a huge repeating watermark. Okay, but let me get rid of that and the Fibonacci. So this is Jasmine's chart inverted. Oh my god, look how bullish that is. Except it's not. Where's the parabolic trend line? So we go from here to here. This is parabolic. This is the definition of a parabolic rise. I mean, it is just into Stupidsville with how crazy it's gone. Well, I even have to move the chart to the inverse. Let me see. Jasmine USDT. Actually has less data. Huh. So yeah, this is a quite the parabolic rise. But the time cycle, the time measure from this low to where we are at. It's 125, 120. I say, and then that's. Let me get my notes here. I pull up those cycles. Some instruments have the blah 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 blah. Oh, and from its inception. That's the other one. That was actually the most important. 100. So the 144-day cycle is extremely important in GAN analysis. And well, yeah, I had this in my notes. I was going to do a video. I was going to do a video on it on Friday. Didn't have time to. I was just looking at my notes. That the 144-day cycle. GAN didn't write a ton about it, but what he did write about the 144-day cycle was just this, that it was one of the most important day counts, and that it signals the imminent end of moves, and it terminates movements very abruptly, is what he wrote. And then he also wrote that it is often misapplied by my students. I don't even know what the heck that means, but that's normal for GAN stuff. Just not very clear on a lot of stuff. Made you work to learn it. But the 144-day cycle terminates today. So if you're asking when is a time frame, it is literally right in here. There's you have the. I mean, this is not the. Well, yeah, I'll just leave it there. That's pretty much what that is. It's very interesting how this could play out. Because this is another way to like measure a logarithmic, or I mean not a logarithmic, whether something's moved in a parabolic way. And this is also one of the ways that you determine whether an instrument is about to, kind of terminate a move soon, or how extreme or that it's moved too far, is when you have fanning trend lines. So whether you're drawing them from the wicks or the bodies, there really shouldn't matter too much. But definitely when you look at the Jasmy's chart, are these trend lines getting more extreme to the south? And if they are, this is the kind of thing that shows up prior to the end of a parabolic rise. I mean, eventually it'll look like it'll go vertical, but I mean, it's definitely one of those things where there's not much more of an angle that it can really nosedive off of. But yeah, Jasmy is one that probably will be popular for a few days, because the spike should be pretty epic when it does bounce. I mean, it could still keep going down too, but the technicals alone over the last few weeks have really been indicating that there's a strong case for a fairly substantial bounce coming up. So that should be pretty entertaining when it does happen. Anyways, that does it